I am Pragya, and I bring to you excerpts from the year opener issue of Outlook titled Poetry as Evidence. Poetry must be brought before general public. Poetry offers that scope that we get affected and we feel. Poetry expands the scope of storytelling. It is evidence of others' lives, of our times. We remain grateful to Amar Kanwar, who worked with us and edited this issue, and to everyone who gave us their poems and images, to the reporters who gathered the poems, to the designers and researchers who made it all possible. In the introduction to the year opener issue, guest editor Amar Kanwar writes, Poetry as Evidence. In an AI controlled, digitally manipulated, and market choreographed landscape of ideas, desires, and feelings, who have I become now? Do I think what I think? Or perhaps it's not me anymore? How to understand my inner self and its relationship with the outside world? How to understand the day's events, the news of the city, the region, or of nations? How to relate to the multiple disappearances of people, communities, languages, natural systems, ways of living and being? Could the poet's mind and words help us come together and find other ways of thinking, relocating senses that have become attenuated in order to comprehend again? Could we subvert the mind game and reimagine the news? What if we could imagine the morning newspaper written and conceived by poets rather than corporations, governments, political parties, and ideological projects? For the January 2024 special issue, I offered 3 sets of propositions to Outlook's team of researchers and reporters. This issue consists of selections of poetry that respond to these propositions. First, imagine the simultaneous viewing of multiple time, of obvious time, hyper time, orphaned time, time that unexpectedly shoot off from beneath your feet and races away, time parallel and coexisting in 2 geographical memories, one sinking roots, the other a smoke wisp attached to and forever trailing a body. Imagine time that is filled with as many silences as with words. Imagine the slow gathering together of time, moment by moment, evidence by evidence. Imagine the formal presentation of poetry as evidence in a future war crimes tribunal. Second, imagine the morning newspaper, headlines and couplets, black and white but in verse. Imagine that constellation of words, truth as told by the stars and birds, translated by bread and transcribed by daughters. Imagine the clash of silences, the sting and honey of the bee and the lamenting obituary. Imagine night as day and day as night, the moon as witness and the sun a doctor, nurses as editors, poets as reporters, and the village balladeer, the week's ombudsman. Imagine traitors as lovers, outlaws as fathers, and renegades as poets. Imagine talking curtains and storytellers' tiffin boxes. Imagine column becoming cups and rows becoming dogs. Mountain dogs, river dogs, factory dogs, gutter dogs, tree dogs, and kitchen sink dogs. Imagine the color of that grey. Imagine the formal presentation of poetry as news of the day. Third, understanding how change takes place allows us to foresee, assess, and even predict. Can poetry help us understand the passage of time? And if that were possible, even for one unique moment, could we then catch a glimpse of the future? For this and more, read the year opener issue of Outlook.